Bit of an interesting but busy, eventful day today. The day's still not done, but I have some time, so you know what time it is. New habit, by the way. This habit is habit 2 now. So the first one was habit 1, which is be proactive. Habit 2 is begin with the end in mind. So let's do it. Principles of personal leadership. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies between us. Oliver Wendell Holmes is the quote. Please find a place to read these next few pages where you can be alone and uninterrupted. Clear your mind of everything except what you will read and what I will invite you to do. Don't worry about your schedule, your business, your family, or your friends. Just focus with me and really open your mind. In your mind's eye, see yourself going to the funeral of a loved one. Picture yourself driving to the funeral parlor or chapel, parking the car, and getting out. As you walk inside the building, you notice the flowers, the soft organ music. You see the faces of friends and family you passed along the way. You feel the shared sorrow of losing, the joy of having known that radiates from the hearts of the people there. As you walk down to the front of the room and look inside the casket, you suddenly come face to face with yourself. This is your funeral. 3 years from today, all these people have to come to honor you, to express feelings of love and appreciation for your life. As you take a seat and wait for the services to begin, you look at the program in your hand. There are to be four speakers. The first is from your family, immediate and also extended, children, brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents who have come from all over the country to attend. The second speaker is one of your friends, someone who can give a sense of what you were as a person. The third speaker is from your work or profession, and the fourth is from your church or some community organization where you've been involved in service. Now think deeply. What would you like each of these speakers to say about you and your life? What kind of husband, wife, father, or mother would you like the words to reflect? What kind of son and daughter or cousin? What kind of friend? What kind of working associate? What character would you like them to have seen you in? Seen in you? What contributions, what achievements would you want them to remember? Look carefully at the people around you. What difference would you like to have made in their lives? Before you read further, take a few minutes to jot down your impressions. It will greatly increase your personal understanding of habit 2. What it means to begin with the end in mind. If you participated seriously in this visualization experience, you touched for a moment some of your deep, fundamental values. You established brief contact with the inner guidance system at the heart of your circle of influence. Consider the words of Joseph Edison. When I look upon the tombs of the great, every emotion of envy dies in me. When I read the epitaphs of the beautiful, every ordinary desire goes out. When I meet with the grief of the parents upon a tombstone, my heart melts with compassion. When I see the tomb of the parents themselves, I consider the vanity of grieving for those whom we must quickly follow. When I see kings lying by those who despise them, when I consider rival wits placed side by side, or the holy man that divided the world with their contests and disputes, I reflect with sorrow and astonishment on the little competitions, factions, and debates of mankind. When I read the several dates of the tombs of some that died yesterday and some 600 years ago, I consider that great day when we shall all of us be contemporaries and make our appearance together. Although habit 2 applies to many different circumstances and levels of life, the most fundamental application of begin with the end in mind is to begin today with the image, picture, or paradigm of the end of your life as your frame of reference or uh, creation by which everything else is examined. Each part of your life today, each part of your life, today's behavior, tomorrow's behavior, next week's behavior, next month's behavior, can be examined in the context of the whole of what really matters most to you. By keeping that end clearly in mind, you can make certain that whatever you do on any particular day does not violate the criteria you have defined as supremely important, and that each day of your life contributes in a meaningful way to the vision you have of your life as a whole. To begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now, and so that the steps you take are always in the right direction. It's incredibly easy to get caught up in an activity trap in the busyness of life, to work harder and harder at climbing the ladder of success only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. It is possible to be busy, very busy, without being very effective. People often find themselves achieving victories that are empty, successes that have come at the expense of things they suddenly realized were far more valuable to them. People from every walk of life, doctors, academicians, actors, politicians, business professionals, athletes, and plumbers often struggle to achieve a higher income, more recognition of a certain degree of professional competence, only to find that their drive to achieve their goal blinded them to the things that really mattered most and now are gone. How different our lives are when we really know what is deeply important to us and keep that picture in mind. We manage ourselves each day to be and to do what really matters most. If the ladder is not leaning against the right wall, every step we take just gets us to the wrong place faster. We may be very busy, we may be very efficient, but we will also be truly effective only when we begin with the end in mind. If you carefully consider what you wanted to be said of you in the funeral experience, you will find your definition of success. It may be very different from the definition you thought you had in mind. Perhaps fame, achievement, money, or some of the other things we strive for are not even part of the right wall. When you begin with the end in mind, you gain a different perspective. One man asked another on the death of a mutual friend, "How much did he leave?" His friend responded, "He left it all." All things are created twice. Begin with the end in mind is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There is a mental or first creation and physical or second creation to all things. Take the construction of a home, for example. You create it in every detail before you ever hammer the first nail into place. You try to get a very clear sense of what kind of house you want. If you want a family-centered home, you plan to put a family room where it would be a natural gathering place. You plan sliding doors and a patio for children to play outside. You work with ideas. You work with your mind until you get a clear image of what you want to build. Then you reduce it to a blueprint and develop construction plans. All this is done before the earth is touched. If not, then the second creation, the physical creation, you will have to make expensive changes that may double the cost of your home. The carpenter rule is measure twice, cut once. You have to make sure that the blueprint, the first creation, is really what you want, that you've thought everything through. Then you put it into bricks and mortars. Each day you go to the construction shed and pull out the blueprint to get marching orders for the day. You begin with the end in mind. For another example, look at a business. If you want to have a successful enterprise, you clearly define what you're trying to accomplish. You carefully think through the product or service you want to produce or to provide in terms of your market target. Then you organize all the elements: financial, research and development, operations, marketing, personnel, physical facilities, and so on, to meet that objective. The extent to which you begin with the end in mind often determines whether or not you are able to create a successful enterprise. Most business failures begin in the first creation, with problems such as uncapitalization, misunderstanding of the market, or lack of a business plan. The same is true Parenting. If you want to raise responsible, self-disciplined children, you have to keep the end clearly in mind as you interact with your with your children on a daily basis. You can't behave toward them in ways that underline their self-discipline or self-esteem. To varying degrees, people use this discipline in many different areas of life. Before you go on a trip, you determine your destination. And plan out the best route. Before you plant a garden, you plan it out in your mind, possibly on paper. You create speeches on paper before you give them. You envision the landscaping in your yard before you landscape it. You design the clothes you make before you thread the needle. To the extent to which we understand the principles of two creations and accept the responsibility for both, we act within and enlarge the borders of our circle of influence. To the extent to which we do not operate in harmony with this principle and do not take charge of the first creation, we diminish it. By design or default. It's a principle that all things are created twice, but not all first creations are by conscious design. In our personal lives, if we do not develop our own self-awareness, do not become responsible for first creations, we empower other people and circumstances outside our circle of influence to shape much of our lives by default. We reactively live the scripts handed to us by family, associates, other people's agendas, the pressures of circumstance, scripts from our earlier years, from our training, our conditioning. These scripts come from people, not principles. And they rise out of our deep vulnerabilities, our deep dependencies on others, and our needs for acceptance and love, for belonging, for a sense of importance and worth, for a feeling that we matter. Whether we are aware of it or not, whether we are in control of it or not, there is a first creation to every part of our lives. We are either the second creation of our own proactive design, or we are the second creation of other people's agendas, of circumstances, or past habits. The unique human capacities of self-awareness, imagination, and conscience enables us to examine first creations and make it possible for us to take charge of our first creation, to write our own script. Put another way, habit 1 says you are the creator. Habit 2 is the first creation. Let's see where the next chapter. I'll stop there. But this will be a very interesting chapter or very interesting habit to adapt, or at least recognize, for me personally, because I've always been someone that hasn't really lived by the principle of begin with the end in mind, meaning if or I guess like a 5-year planner or someone that really thinks so far ahead. Now, when it comes to more on a principle and values base, I think I do begin with the end in mind. And I think I capture that from the example of the funeral. What do people want to talk about when it comes to who you were as a person, not what you have? But from a business standpoint, I think this is where I can have a struggle, because beginning with the end in mind when it comes to the business plan, beginning with the end in mind when it comes to where you really see yourself, not only as a leader, but as a business overall, is something that I would probably have a struggle with, because I've always been someone that's on a more day-to-day basis. Can I be better than the day before? 1% at a time. And sometimes I'm more focused on that than really seeing what it really looks like at the very end of my journey, or the very end of the journey that I am a part of. So that's something to keep a note of. But overall, I think it is important to realize what the example of the funeral. I think it is very important to realize that it is not what you have, not the materialistic stuff, not the fame, not the accomplishments, but how did people feel when you were around them, how did you make people feel, but let alone what kind of values and principles and perhaps even a vision you express to others. And I think that's very important, right? Something that I realized recently was you don't want to be on your deathbed alone. Being able to collaborate or being able to have a good relationship with people, with your friends, your family is very important. Far more important than having that Lambo or having that piece of jewelry that you've always wanted for a long time, or always dripped out in clothing. But yeah, let's see how this habit goes for me.